Control your mouth because your words have the power to create or destroy your world. Every time you open your mouth, you're either planting a seed or throwing a stone. And most of us, without realizing it, keep throwing stones every single day. We hurt people with our tone, we damage relationships with sarcasm, we kill opportunities with careless words. Have you ever noticed how a single sentence can change someone's entire day? One "thank you" can make someone feel valued. One "I'm proud of you" can make a person believe in themselves again. But one rude remark, one moment of anger, can shatter someone's confidence completely. We live in a world where people spend hours choosing their clothes, but hardly a minute choosing their words. Think about it. We brush our teeth every morning to keep our mouth clean, but we rarely clean the words that come out of it. The mouth is not just a part of the body, it's the steering wheel of your destiny. If you can't control it, it will drive you into a ditch. But if you master it, it will take you toward peace, success, and meaningful relationships. Let me tell you something simple but powerful. Your mouth reveals your mindset. If your heart is filled with anger, your mouth will speak bitterness. If your heart is filled with gratitude, your mouth will speak kindness. Words are the mirror of what's happening inside. And that's why it's so important to pause before we speak. Because once words leave your lips, no amount of apology can completely erase their impact. Imagine this: you're at work, already stressed, and a colleague says something slightly annoying. Without thinking, you snap back. "You always do this!" Can't you ever get things right? You feel a sense of relief for a second because you let it out. But the damage begins. That person feels small, disrespected, the trust weakens. The next time you need their help, they hesitate. And over time, small, careless exchanges like these build walls between people. The tragedy is, we never meant to hurt them. We were just emotional. But emotions don't excuse impact. I once met a man who told me he hadn't spoken to his brother for 5 years. We had one big argument, he said. I said things I didn't mean, but I can't take them back now. Just one argument. 5 years of silence. Words are free, but their cost is enormous. Now, think of the opposite. Think of someone who spoke to you with warmth, respect, and compassion, even when you made a mistake. How did it make you feel? Safe, valued, understood? You remember those people, don't you? Because they didn't just speak words, they spoke healing. Their control over their mouth made them a source of peace for everyone around them. I remember an old woman in Mumbai who used to sell flowers outside a temple. Every morning she greeted everyone with the same smile, the same words, "May your day be beautiful." I once asked her, "You've been sitting here for years in the heat and dust. How are you always smiling?" She said, "Baba, I may not have much money, but I give blessings with my mouth. That's my wealth." What a lesson! You don't need riches to make a difference. You just need gentle words. It's easy to speak harshly when things go wrong, but real strength is in restraint. A lion doesn't roar every time it's provoked. It roars only when necessary. That's power. The ability to stay silent when your ego wants to explode. That's wisdom. Every time you're about to react, pause. Just for a second, ask yourself, will these words solve the problem or add fuel to it? You'll be surprised how many fires you can prevent by simply choosing silence or softness. Silence is not weakness, it's maturity. And kindness is not Nama VTA, it's strength under control. You see, relationships don't break because people stop loving each other. They break because people stop speaking gently. Families fall apart not from lack of love, but from lack of control over words. We shout to prove a point, we argue to win, but in the end, we lose peace. I remember once being in a heated discussion with a friend. He was upset about something small, and I could feel my ego rising. I wanted to say something sharp to prove I was right, but I paused, I breathed, and I simply said, "Maybe I don't understand your side well enough." His entire expression softened. The tension melted away. Later he said, "I was expecting a fight. You gave me peace." That day I realized, you don't need to win arguments, you need to win hearts. Words are energy. When you speak negatively, you drain energy from yourself and others. When you speak positively, you create energy. That's why after a conversation with some people you feel tired, and after talking to others you feel alive. The difference isn't in the topic, it's in the tone. So, if you truly want to transform your life, start by transforming your tongue. Make it a tool for kindness, gratitude, and inspiration. Speak less, but speak better. Replace criticism with appreciation. Instead of saying, "You never do anything right," say, "Let's try it together next time." Instead of gossiping about someone's flaws, speak about their strengths when they're not around. That's not only controlling your mouth, that's controlling your energy, your vibration, your karma. Every morning when you wake up, remind yourself, "Today, my words will uplift, not break." Make it a discipline. Speak to your parents with love. Speak to your spouse with patience. Speak to your children with encouragement. Speak to strangers with respect. You never know whose heart you might heal today. Because one day, your words will be the memory someone holds of you. Let them remember your gentleness, not your anger. Let them say, "Whenever they spoke, they made me feel peace." That is real success. Not how loud you spoke, but how deeply your words touched. So control your mouth, not because silence is easy, but because peace is priceless. Speak not to impress, but to express goodness. Choose words that make you proud to replay later. Because when your words are aligned with kindness, your life aligns with greatness. Control your mood, because the mood you carry decides the life you live. So many of our problems are not because of what happens to us, but because of how we react to what happens. The same event can make one person bitter and another person better. The difference lies not in the situation, but in the state of mind. Every single day, life will test your mood. Through people, through problems, through pressure. And the question is simple: will you let the mood control you, or will you control the mood? Have you noticed how a few minutes of anger can destroy hours of peace? You wake up in the morning feeling good, but then someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly your whole day feels ruined. One small incident, and your mind keeps replaying it over and over. The truth is, the person who annoyed you has moved on, but you're still carrying them in your mood. That's the irony of emotional weakness. We give small things the power to control our big happiness. Imagine this: you spill a cup of tea on your shirt before an important meeting. Most people would curse, panic, or get irritated. But what does that achieve? The tea is still spilled, but now your mood is spoiled too. Instead of focusing on the solution, we drown in frustration. But a person with emotional control would simply smile and say, "Well, looks like I'm carrying a fragrance of chai today." The situation doesn't change, but the energy does. That's power. The power to stay calm when life shakes you. There's a story of a monk who was once insulted by a man in public. The man shouted, called him names, and mocked him. The monk stayed completely silent, just smiling. When asked later how he stayed so peaceful, he said, "If someone tries to give you a gift and you refuse it, who does it belong to?" Everyone replied, "The giver." The monk smiled and said, "Exactly. When someone gives me anger and I don't accept it, it stays with them." What a lesson! You don't have to receive every emotion that others throw at you. You can choose peace over provocation. So often we ruin beautiful relationships, not because people are bad, but because we can't manage our moods. A small misunderstanding turns into a big argument because our emotions take over. Have you ever said something harsh in anger and later thought, "I wish I hadn't said that"? That's what happens when emotion wins over wisdom. Our words are sharpest when our hearts are weakest. One evening, I was standing near a park and saw a father walking with his little daughter. She accidentally dropped her ice cream and started crying. The father bent down, wiped her tears, and said gently, "It's okay, my princess." Sometimes we lose sweet things so that life can give us sweeter ones. The little girl stopped crying and smiled. I thought to myself, this man didn't just comfort his daughter, he taught her resilience. He controlled the mood of the moment, and by doing so, he shaped her emotional strength. That's the power of self-control. It doesn't just protect your peace, it influences everyone around you. When you control your mood, you don't lose your balance every time the wind blows. You become like a tree with deep roots. Storms may shake your branches, but they can't uproot your calm. People who master this art are the ones who inspire others. They walk into a room and bring peace with them. They don't react, they respond. They don't explode, they evolve. The reality is, moods are temporary, but the consequences of acting on them are permanent. Anger lasts minutes, but the damage it causes can last years. Impatience lasts moments, but it can destroy opportunities. On the other hand, calmness may take practice, but it builds lifelong harmony. So before reacting in anger, ask yourself, will this matter 5 hours from now, 5 days from now, 5 years from now? Most of the time, it won't. But your reaction will still leave a mark. Sometimes people say, "I can't help it, that's just my mood." But that's not true. Mood is not who you are, it's what you feel. You are not your anger, your sadness, or your irritation. You are the awareness behind it. You can observe it, breathe through it, and let it pass. The problem is, we've trained our minds to react instantly. Someone criticizes us and we bite back. Someone disagrees and we defend. But emotional maturity means learning to pause. The pause is your power. In that pause, you choose peace instead of pride. I once read a line that said, "If you are easily offended, you are easily controlled." And that's true. People can push your buttons only if you let them. The stronger your emotional control, the less control others have over you. That's what freedom truly means. Not doing whatever you feel, but feeling whatever comes and still choosing wisdom. Think of your mood as the weather inside you. You can't stop the rain, but you can carry an umbrella. You can't stop heat, but you can find shade. Life will throw all kinds of seasons at you: disappointment, delay, rejection, stress. But you can choose how to walk through them. The best people in the world are not those who never face storms, but those who dance in the rain without letting their joy drown. Let's be honest. Every day gives us chances to lose control. The traffic jam, the rude cashier, the child not listening, the colleague gossiping. You can't stop any of that. But you can stop yourself from losing peace. You can smile and remind yourself, I will not give my power away for small things. Because once your peace is gone, even small problems feel heavy. But when your peace is intact, even big challenges feel manageable. At the end of the day, controlling your mood is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about accepting reality without letting it poison your mind. It's about responding to pain with patience, to criticism with calm, to chaos with clarity. When you do that, your energy becomes magnetic. People feel safe around you. They trust your presence because you don't add fire, you bring water. So, whenever life tests you, pause, breathe, smile. Don't let a passing storm make you forget the sunshine you carry within. Because moods are like clouds, they come and go. But your peace, your inner sky, can always remain clear. The person who controls their mood doesn't just live longer, they live better. They don't chase happiness. They create it moment by moment with the quiet power of emotional mastery. Control your money, because if you don't control it, it will quietly start controlling you. Money is a beautiful servant, but a terrible master. The truth is, most people don't have a money problem. They have a management problem. We work day and night to earn it. We chase it. We stress over it. We even lose sleep because of it. Yet very few people actually understand how to handle it. You can have a high income and still live in constant tension. You can have a modest salary and still live peacefully. It's not about how much you earn. It's about how wisely you manage what you have. I once met a man who earned an impressive amount each month. He had a big car, a fancy phone, and a luxurious lifestyle. But when I asked him how much he saved, he laughed nervously and said, "Nothing. I spend it all. I deserve to live." 6 months later, he lost his job. The same man who lived in luxury now struggled to pay rent. That's when it hit him. Money spent without purpose is freedom lost in disguise. It's not how much you have that defines wealth. It's how long you can sustain yourself when money stops coming in. In contrast, I once spoke to an old lady who sold vegetables on a roadside stall. She earned just enough to survive, but every evening she would put a small portion aside in a jar. When I asked her why, she smiled and said, "For the day I can't work anymore." She didn't have a financial degree, but she had wisdom. She understood something many educated people don't. That control over money is control over peace of mind. Money itself is not bad. It's energy, neutral, powerful, and deeply revealing. It simply amplifies who you are. If you're kind, money will give you the power to help. If you're greedy, money will feed your ego. If you're careless, Money will vanish as quickly as it comes. That's why financial discipline is not about restriction, it's about direction. It's not about saying no to life's pleasures, it's about saying yes to a secure, meaningful future. We often say, money can't buy happiness. True, but lack of money can buy a lot of stress. It can strain marriages, friendships, and even health. Most arguments in families aren't about love, they're about money. It's never the amount that causes the fight, it's the imbalance. When spending becomes emotional, savings become impossible. You see, many people use money to fill emotional gaps, shopping when they're sad, showing off when they're insecure, giving when they crave validation. But money spent from emotion rarely brings satisfaction. The joy fades, the guilt remains, and the cycle repeats. I once heard a story about a man who always wanted the latest smartphone. Every year, he would upgrade, even though the old one worked perfectly fine. One day, his young son asked, "Papa, why do you keep changing phones?" The father smiled and said, "Because I like new things." The boy quietly replied, "Then maybe I should change my dad too. I like new people." The father froze. In that innocent moment, he realized something deep. We keep chasing things to feel fulfilled, but in the process, we forget to nurture what truly fulfills us: relationships, memories, peace. Money should enhance your life, not replace the meaning in it. A wise person once said, "Don't tell me where your money comes from, tell me where it goes, and I'll tell you who you are." Because where you spend reflects what you value. If you spend on experiences, you value growth. If you spend on others, you value compassion. If you only spend to impress, you value appearance over essence. Every rupee, every dollar, every coin you spend is a vote for the kind of life you want. There's also another side to money: generosity. When you learn to give without fear, you attract abundance. Giving doesn't always mean giving big, it means giving with love. Even a small gesture, buying food for someone in need, helping a child with education, supporting a cause, multiplies your joy. Because real wealth is not what sits in your bank, it's what flows through your heart. The most content people I've met are not necessarily rich, but they are rich in giving. They don't just count money, they count blessings. But let's be clear, being spiritual doesn't mean being careless with money. Even monks manage their resources wisely. Simplicity is not about poverty, it's about clarity. It's about knowing what truly adds value to your life. There's a difference between owning things and being owned by them. When you constantly need more to feel complete, you've become a slave to your possessions. But when you can enjoy what you have without craving what you don't, that's true financial freedom. Let's take an everyday example. You get a bonus at work. The first thought that comes to mind, what can I buy? But imagine if instead your first thought was, how can I use this wisely? Maybe save a portion, invest a portion, share a portion, and enjoy a portion. That simple shift changes everything. Because money used with awareness multiplies not just your wealth, but your peace. The reality is, no one teaches us how to handle money emotionally. Schools teach us mathematics but not mindfulness. We learn how to count money, not how to control our relationship with it. That's why so many people have financial anxiety, not because they lack income, but because they lack intention. Money without direction creates confusion. Money with purpose creates confidence. So, the next time you hold money in your hands, don't see it as paper, see it as a responsibility. Ask yourself, am I using this to create peace or pressure? Because every note you spend carries your energy. If it goes out with gratitude, it returns with abundance. But if it goes out with greed or guilt, it disappears without meaning. When you control your money, you're not just managing finances, you're mastering freedom. You no longer live paycheck to paycheck emotionally. You live with balance, gratitude, and purpose. And when that happens, money stops being your master and becomes your companion. It serves you, empowers you, and supports your mission, not your ego. So remember, money is not the goal, peace is. But if you learn to control your money, peace will follow naturally. Because the person who manages money with mindfulness doesn't just live rich, they live wise. They don't measure wealth in possessions, but in peace of mind. And that, my friends, is the real meaning of being truly unstoppable. Mastering small controls leads to big success. The truth is, life doesn't change in one giant leap. It changes in quiet, consistent moments of discipline that no one sees. People often wait for some magical breakthrough, some perfect opportunity, some big transformation. But what really transforms you are the tiny choices you make every single day. The words you speak, the thoughts you allow, the actions you repeat. The small controls, when practiced daily, create the foundation for an extraordinary life. Think about it. A river cuts through rock not because of its power, but because of its persistence. Drop by drop, moment by moment, it shapes the stone. The same principle applies to us. It's not the intensity of our effort once in a while that defines us. It's the consistency of our habits over time. The small control of waking up on time, choosing kindness when it's easier to be rude, saving instead of spending, listening instead of reacting. These are the little drops that carve greatness. But we humans often underestimate the power of small things. We say, oh, it's just one lie, it's just one missed day, it's just one angry reaction. Yet life is built exactly on these just ones. A single spark can start a fire, a single word can start a war, and a single act of patience can save a relationship. Small choices have massive consequences. The problem is, because their results aren't immediate, we take them lightly. Let's take an example. Imagine a man who decides to walk for 10 minutes every morning. 10 minutes seems too little to matter, but he keeps doing it every day, rain or shine. Months later, he feels lighter, more energetic, more confident. His 10 minutes became transformation. Now imagine another man who says, I'll start tomorrow, every day for a year. The difference between both isn't intelligence or opportunity, it's consistency. The one who controlled the small habit gained big results. Similarly, think about how we speak. One small act of controlling your words, choosing not to insult, choosing to stay calm, can prevent days of regret. One small act of gratitude before bed can shift your entire mindset. When you make small control your lifestyle, you no longer depend on motivation, you run on discipline. I remember once asking a successful musician what his secret was. He said, I practice the same note every day until it sounds like my soul. He smiled and added, People clap for the concert. But my success was in the quiet hours of practice. That's the power of mastering small controls. Doing the unseen, unglamorous work with devotion. Many people think success means doing big things. But success actually means doing small things with excellence. You don't need to meditate for hours. Just 5 minutes of stillness daily can change your focus. You don't need to read 100 books. Just 10 pages a day can fill your mind with wisdom. You don't need to make $1 million plan. Just save a small portion each week and invest it wisely. Tiny steps compound into extraordinary results. But here's the challenge. Small controls require big patience. Because they don't give instant rewards, your mind gets restless. You start thinking, what's the point? That's when most people quit. But the truth is, the results are always delayed, never denied. The bamboo tree, for example, doesn't grow above the ground for the first 5 years. You water it, care for it, but see nothing. Then suddenly, in the 5th year, it shoots up more than 80 feet in a few weeks. Was it growing only in the 5th year? No, it was growing underground, building roots strong enough to support its height. The same is true for you. Every small act of control is strengthening your roots, preparing you for the growth that others can't see yet. Let's look at emotions. Controlling your reaction once might not feel significant. But every time you choose peace over anger, your emotional muscles grow stronger. Every time you resist gossip, your integrity deepens. Every time you say no to something harmful, you say yes to your growth. These little victories build inner confidence, the quiet assurance that you are in charge of yourself. Even in relationships, small controls create lasting bonds. Saying thank you, expressing appreciation, choosing forgiveness. These don't take much effort, but they carry immense power. One word of encouragement can heal someone's heart. One moment of listening can change someone's day. Great relationships are never built on grand gestures alone. They are built on consistent, small acts of care. There's a beautiful story of a gardener who was asked how he kept his flowers so healthy and bright. He said, "I don't pour a bucket of water once a month. I give them a few drops every day." That's exactly how growth works. You don't need to flood your life with massive change all at once. You just need to water your habits daily with awareness, kindness, and discipline. Small control is also about saying no at the right time, saying no to unnecessary spending, to toxic conversations, to distractions. It's not about deprivation, it's about direction. Every no creates space for a bigger yes. Yes to peace, yes to focus, yes to purpose. And remember, small controls are contagious. When you live with discipline, people notice. Your calmness inspires calmness in others. Your consistency motivates your peers. Your quiet strength speaks louder than words. That's how great leaders and spiritual masters inspire, not by force, but by example. Every sunrise gives you a chance to practice small control, to rise a little earlier, speak a little softer, listen a little better, love a little deeper. You may not see results tomorrow, but one day you'll look back and realize that those tiny, humble efforts built your strength, your stability, and your success. So never underestimate the power of what seems small. A single drop makes the ocean. A single moment of patience changes destiny. And a single habit of control can make you unstoppable. Life rewards those who are faithful in the small things, because if you can handle the small with grace, the big will naturally follow. The journey of transformation begins not with giant leaps, but with steady steps. Control the small, your time, your emotions, your words, your actions, and watch how the universe opens doors you never imagined. Because greatness is not something you achieve once. It's something you practice quietly, one small choice at a time. Respond, don't react, because your reaction can destroy in seconds what took years to build. Every day, life throws situations at us that test our patience, our calmness, our maturity. Someone cuts you off in traffic, someone misunderstands you, someone insults you, and immediately your heart beats faster, your face tightens, your ego wants to strike back. That's the moment of choice. Will you react out of emotion or respond out of wisdom? The difference between the two decides not just your peace, but your destiny. Reaction is automatic, but response is powerful. Reaction comes from the ego, response comes from awareness. Reaction is about proving yourself right. Response is about doing what is right. In that tiny pause between what happens to you and how you reply, your entire character is revealed. People often say, I couldn't control myself, I just reacted. But in truth, that's when control matters the most. It's easy to be calm when everything goes smoothly. True strength is staying composed when everything goes wrong. Imagine this, you're standing in a queue and someone suddenly pushes past you. Instantly, your mind flares up. How dare they? You feel like shouting. But before you do, you pause for just a second and notice. The person looks flustered, maybe even anxious. Perhaps they're in a hurry for a genuine reason. In that one moment of awareness, the whole situation changes. Instead of reacting with anger, you respond with understanding. You let them pass, you stay peaceful, and you go home with your calm intact. The outer world didn't change, your inner world did. That's what real control looks like. We live in a world that glorifies instant reactions, instant replies, instant opinions, instant judgments. But maturity means realizing that silence can sometimes be more powerful than speech. You don't need to answer every insult. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. You don't need to fight every battle. Sometimes peace is the best proof of strength. When you learn to respond rather than react, you rise above the situation instead of sinking into it. I remember once hearing a story about Buddha. A man came to him and began shouting, insulting, and accusing him of all kinds of things. Buddha sat silently, calm and unbothered. After a while, the man stopped and asked, "Why aren't you saying anything?" Buddha smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, who does it belong to?" The man said, "To the giver." Buddha replied, "Then your anger belongs to you, not me." That is the power of response. You don't have to receive every emotion that others throw at you. Reactions are easy. They require no effort, only impulse. But responses require awareness, emotional intelligence, and patience. When you react, you give your power away. You hand over the keys of your peace to someone else. But when you respond, you stay in charge of yourself. No one can disturb a person who refuses to surrender their calm. Think about relationships. How many times have arguments gone out of control simply because no one paused to breathe? One person says something harsh, The other reacts, and suddenly both are saying things they don't mean. Words are exchanged, tears are shed, and silence follows. Not the peaceful kind, but the painful kind. Later both regret it, but the damage is done. If just one person had chosen to respond instead of react, that moment could have turned into understanding instead of conflict. I once knew a couple who used a simple rule. Whenever they got angry, they would take 10 deep breaths before speaking. Sometimes it felt silly, but they said it saved their marriage. We realized, the husband told me, that no problem was big enough to destroy our peace. Only our reactions were. That's wisdom. The problem itself doesn't break you, the way you handle it does. Even in professional life, the same principle applies. A boss criticizes you unfairly, a colleague takes credit for your work, a client complains rudely. You can choose to react and escalate, or respond calmly and find a solution. The one who reacts emotionally burns bridges. The one who responds intelligently builds respect. Emotional control is not suppression, it's direction. It means channeling your feelings toward a wise outcome instead of letting them explode. There's a beautiful saying, when you throw a stone into still water, the ripples spread far and wide. Similarly, when you react negatively, the ripples of your anger spread into every corner of your day. But when you remain calm, your peace also spreads into your relationships, your work, your energy. You attract calmness by being calm. Sometimes people think responding means being passive or weak. It's not. Responding takes more courage than reacting. Reacting is letting your emotions control you. Responding is leading your emotions with wisdom. You can respond firmly without being rude. You can respond honestly without being hurtful. You can respond assertively without being aggressive. The goal is not to suppress emotions, but to express them intelligently. Think of fire. When uncontrolled, it burns everything in its path. But when controlled, it cooks food, gives warmth, brings light. Emotions are the same. When uncontrolled, they destroy. When guided, they empower. Every time you choose response over reaction, you turn your emotions into fuel for growth rather than destruction. I once saw a mother at an airport with a crying child. The child was screaming and people around were staring. Instead of shouting, the mother calmly held him and whispered softly, "I know you're tired, it's okay." Within minutes, the child stopped crying and rested his head on her shoulder. That scene touched me deeply. It reminded me that peace is more contagious than anger. A single calm person can transform the energy of an entire space. So next time life tests you, when someone is rude, when things go wrong, when the world feels unfair, pause. Just pause. Take a breath and remind yourself, my peace is more valuable than this moment's anger. You don't need to win every argument. Sometimes walking away peacefully is the real victory. You don't need to prove your worth to those who don't see it. Your calmness already shows your strength. When you respond, not react, you stop being a slave to circumstances. You stop letting people pull the strings of your emotions. You become the master of your mood, your energy, your life. And that mastery radiates strength. The kind of quiet strength that doesn't need to shout. Because true power is not in how loud you are, but in how steady you remain when everything around you is noisy. In the end, your reactions define your reality. The world may not always be calm, but you can always be. Respond with grace, act with patience, and speak with wisdom. That's how you stay peaceful in a world full of storms. Because the one who learns to respond, not react, doesn't just survive life, they rise above it.